Are you about to go on a check ride? Well, here's my #1 piece of advice if you are. The one thing I can think of that I say more than anything else on both stage checks and when I'm prepping my own students to go for check rides is don't rush. You know, it's so easy to say that again sitting here in an armchair, but between that and kind of the just whole mental state of not rushing and staying calm, right? I find don't rush is more easily quantifiable than just, hey, don't get stressed. Why are you, worrying about this stuff? Because that's impossible. It's such a normal reaction to going and taking a test for anyone, especially for a private pilot or even maybe an instrument pilot. It's that fear of the unknown that builds up, and it's very hard to counter. Even after you've taken several check rides, there's still a little bit of nerves to go for it, even if you think you know everything or you do know everything or you've made peace that you don't know everything. But it's so much easier to say don't rush. When you're going through all of these different maneuvers, when you're going through all of the different pattern entries and landings and takeoffs and procedures, those kind of things, if you just take your time and think about what you're going to do before you do it, everything's going to turn out so much better. So a lot of the times in the check rides too, their students are worried or candidates are worried that as soon as they bust a standard, that's it, the check ride's over. And I think that alone leads to a lot of check ride failures because they think as soon as they bust that standard that the rest of the check ride's gonna go down the tubes and that's it. Well, so, it just kind of snowballs after that. But again, going back to that, what I tell my students of don't rush is, it's continual exceedance of the ACS standards or, a safety of flight issue. Obviously, if you try to land on the wrong runway or something, that's going to be a problem. And that, that's exceeding the standards enough where the check ride probably wouldn't continue after that. But when a DPE or when an examiner turns to you in the check ride and says, okay, show me steep turns, they don't mean I want you to immediately bang out into that right now. It's okay, do whatever procedure that you would do to get set up for those steep turns and then show me them when you're ready. Remember, you're the one paying for this check ride here, so while we don't want to drag it out all day, it's important to say, okay, well, in order to do steep turns, I need to run my pre-maneuver checklist. I need to make sure the area is clear. I need to, maybe make a position report depending on where I am. And then now only am I going to start going into that maneuver. Now, in an emergency procedure, right, it's still, you don't want to rush. That will make the emergency worse, especially in a real emergency, but definitely in a simulated one here where there is no real danger and you're just doing it to prove that you know how to handle yourself in an emergency like that. It's very important that you don't rush. The first thing that I'm going to do when I get, if I have an engine failure or something like that is pitch for airspeed. And what that gives me a chance to do is breathe. Now, again, depending on what altitude you're at and the terrain and traffic and all these other considerations that, we all know at this point in training, you're taking those into account too, but you still don't want to rush. You want to take the most amount of time that you can. Now, that amount of time might not be very much, but you still want to use all of the available time that you have to be able to pitch, to just breathe, collect yourself, go through your checklists, go through your flows, and it will allow you to execute so much easier on any of these maneuvers, whether they're emergencies or not. All right, everyone, so that's my #1 tip that I give to students going on check rides. Leave us your tip in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.